Hello YouTubers, welcome to this part 3 of the beginner series. And in the previous sections we had looked at the formation of major scales and the formation of the diatonic chords of the scale. We've actually done this tutorial in the scale of C major, but towards the end, as a tradition, I normally give a bonus in a separate key. Remember, in part 1 the bonus was in key D, in part 2 the bonus was in key F sharp or flat G, and in this part 3 today we are learning about the chord inversions. I will explain the concept in key C, and thereafter I will give a bonus in the key of A major. Welcome to this tutorial. And if it is your first time in this channel, please consider subscribing to my channel. Give a like to my videos and share them so that that can go a long way in developing this channel. Now, we had already formed the triads. Actually, a triad is a chord formed from 3 notes. Like if we take the C major chord, I want to believe you have already formed all the diatonic chords in the 12 major scales and you have practiced them in the root positions. And right now you are very comfortable with those chords. In whichever the key, you can be in key of C sharp, any key, or in key G. We have key G there, we have number 2, our number 3 there, our number 4, whichever the key, whichever the scale. I believe you have already followed part 1 and part 2, and you've practiced and you are now conversant with all these chords in the root positions. Today I'm teaching a very important concept in the playing of keyboard, because in most cases you'll realize that the root positions are wide apart. Let's say I'm playing from chord number 1 in the key of, this is the scale of C major. And let's say I'm having these chords in this order, chord number 1, then I'm supposed to play 5. I play number 1. You can see my hands are jumping. So the best way to do that is to use chord inversion, such that if I have this number 1, you'll realize the most nearby number 5 is that number 5 in the first inversion. So the fingers do not have to move and jump, and that interferes with the flow of the music. Now, how do we invert a chord? How do we invert a chord? The root position of the chord always has the tonic played as the lowest note using the thumb. But when we want to invert a chord, and today I'm restricting again our chords to triads. That is a chord with only 3 notes. The triads have got actually the root, the first inversion, and the second inversion. So let's try to invert this chord together. We are in chord C, and that is C major. Note number 1, 3, and 5. I believe you have already practiced. You realize this lowest note is C. So if we take it an octave up and maintain the same notes, and this is what we have. This is the first inversion of the chord of C major. Remember, the root is this. But in inverting it to form the first inversion, we take the lowest note and we play it up here. When we follow the same procedure, take the lowest note, which is note E, and you play it up, we end up having this. And this is now the second inversion. So altogether we have the root, C major, first inversion, C major, and second inversion, C major. So the triads actually only have the root, first inversion, and the second inversion. We have the root, the first inversion, and then we have the second inversion. Can you try inverting the chords, starting with the scale of C major, and practice them slowly until your hands are comfortable? For practice purposes, I normally recommend that you try using, just playing both the chords in both the keys, using both hands, I mean. Then we have, when you try to invert this second inversion, you realize you come back to the root where we started, the root position. So we have root, the first inversion. Remember, C is on top now, second inversion, now E is on top, and the root, and in the root, G is on top. So practice with both your hands, and then you'll you'll be good to go. Please try to do this in all the chords that you had already formed in part 2. Remember, in this series, part 2, we are forming the chords of the scale. And I want to believe you have already formed the chords, you have already practiced them, and today we are trying to actually invert them. I did promise that we'll give a bonus in the key of A major, and this is our A major, note A, so the A major scale, I believe you have already formed your scale, and this is not new now. So in our A major scale, this is chord number 1, this is chord number 2, this is chord number 3, this is chord number 4, this is chord number 5, this is chord number 6, this is chord number 7, and then we are back to number 1. So I'm going to illustrate how we can invert. Let's say we have the A major chord. Following the same technique, we want to invert this triad here. We take the lowest note, which is A, and we play it an octave up so that our chord becomes this. I want you to check clearly. We have C sharp, we have E and A, first inversion. Then in the second inversion, we now have the note number 3 played on top. Oh, this note is squared. And then when you invert this, we come back to the root. So that is what we have. First inversion, and this is the root. So you can go ahead and invert all the other chords, like chord number 2 is B major. We can invert this. We have, and then we are back to root. Number 3 is C sharp, and it is a minor. So this is our C sharp minor. We have it here. You can invert that. You can invert that. And when you continue inverting, you come back to the root. Chord number 4 is actually D. So we have the root of D, the first inversion, the second inversion. And you do this with all the chords. Number 5 is E. This is the the root position. First inversion, second inversion, and you are back to the root. So you can slow down this video, try to check how I was actually inverting the chord. But the chord inversion is a very important concept in playing music. So as a build-up to beginning to play, it is always important that once you've learned your chords in the root positions, then you go ahead and now invert them. Because when you will start the actual playing, as you will see in the subsequent videos in this channel, you'll realize that in most cases, we rarely use the chords in the root position. We use the inversions. And that is all we had today, the chord inversions. Please like this video and share it. And be on the lookout for part 4 of this beginner series. Remember, in the part 4 now, we are going to introduce the 4th note in the chord, and that is what we will learn about in our next tutorial, that is part 4. I can't wait to meet you there. Bye-bye.